Profit does not translate to greed. Profit translates to impact.
Hello, Architect Nation, and welcome back to the podcast, helping architecture firm owners break free from the brainwashed masses of broke-a-techs. Join me on my mission to revolutionize the architecture industry by empowering architects to combine great designs with the skill to actually make a lot of money. And today I'm joined by author and entrepreneur Mike Michalowicz. Michalowicz is the entrepreneur behind 3 multi-million-dollar companies and is the author of several books, including Profit First, Clockwork, The Pumpkin Plan, and his latest book, All In. Mike is a former business consultant for the Wall Street Journal and business makeover expert for MSNBC. Now, for a long time, we've been having architects as part of our Smart Practice program get involved with and implement Profit First. So we're going to talk a lot about that. Mike regularly travels the globe on his mission to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty.
This month's 200 Club include Drew and Justine Tyndall, Christopher Brandon, Mark Elster, Sven Levine, Joost Bende, Thomas Norton, Molly Willock, Ian and Tony Wilson, Jeffrey Frame, and Ryan Solers. Well done, guys.
And now a word from our sponsor, Enscape. Enscape is a plugin software that simplifies real-time visualization for us in the architecture, engineering, and construction industries. So whether your go-to design application is Revit, SketchUp, Rhino, ArchiCAD, or Vectorworks, Enscape lets you instantly create high-quality renderings by syncing data from your 3D model without additional import or export if needed. Easily navigate every aspect of your design in real time and identify and resolve any issues that you come across quickly. Plus, you can immerse your clients in VR to provide that amazing tangible sense of the project. Now, if you didn't know, Enscape is the trusted choice of over 500,000 monthly users across 150 countries. Today is the final day of Enscape's Black Friday deal. You can still grab any yearly license at 20% off. Just head to chaos-enscape.com and use code BF23 at checkout to supercharge your design workflow. Again, that URL is chaos-enscape, that's chaos-enscape.com, and the code is B as in boy, F as in Frank, 23. Use that at checkout to supercharge your design workflow. Welcome.
Yeah, and literally just got back from Australia, the UK, the Netherlands, and I'm off to Mexico next. I'm doing this kind of international tour. Oh, I'm talking about Profit First mostly.
How was, over what time period was this all smashed into?
6 weeks.
Over 6 weeks.
Yeah, 1 week in the UK, 1 week in 10 days in Australia, and the Netherlands was in and out for about 3 days.
Wow. Anyone who's traveled a lot knows that that's no small feat.
It stinks. It stinks. I remember I was on the flight back from Australia, which is, I live outside New York City, so it was from Sydney to LAX. I think it was a 18 or 19 hour flight. Wow. I'm not that into movies. I watched like 6 movies in a row, and I'm like exhausted from movies. I look up, I'm like, we're not even halfway here yet. Oh my God, I'm going mad.
Get out of here. Yeah. Wow. So top takeaways from traveling the globe. What do you see as you travel to these other countries being an American citizen?
Yeah, so I see the entrepreneurial communities constantly, and I shouldn't say surprised, but I was initially surprised, now I expect it, is almost every entrepreneur everywhere in the globe has the same challenges, including in communist countries. I was in Cuba for a while meeting with entrepreneurs, and it's the exact same challenges that they're having, even when the government kind of suppresses their ability to do any form of work, they find a way. So our challenges are the same, and the innovative spirit, my God, it's there with everybody, all these entrepreneurs.
Beautiful. I'm curious, have you noticed any sort of different ethos with the different countries that you travel to? I know there's big cultural differences between the UK. We work with architecture firms there, Australia, down under, New Zealand. How would you characterize what you see as you travel around the globe entrepreneurially?
I think, the US guy is seen as the maverick. You come in here and you're kind of crazy. I think in the Netherlands and Europe, there's a little bit of you're not special enough to be an entrepreneur. It's kind of this pull down mentality. But there's also a great camaraderie there. The UK seems to have a little more process orientation and formality. The Australians just seem to be taking kind of the most diverse business opportunities. They go after these kind of more fringe kind of opportunities, it seems. But it's hard to see, I haven't met everyone. I've met a very small scope of people, so I got to be very careful about basing a judgment on a small data set,
Of course. Well, when you talk about eradicating entrepreneurial poverty,
yeah,
what do you mean?
So there's this gap, Enoch, of what we see ourselves desiring, what we want to be, and how we behave in the reality. We see ourselves as wildly successful, personal freedom, financial freedom, and the reality for most entrepreneurs is check-to-check survival, working like an animal, and that gap I call entrepreneurial poverty. But I also want to share that that gap is necessary because it'd be very peculiar if I spoke loud and proud about my reality. I'd probably lose opportunity. Imagine I'm a surgeon. I provide surgery or services and so forth. And you come in and that's an entrepreneur too. They're running their own business. And you come in and you need surgery performed. And I'm like, okay, I'm really struggling financially. I'm actually really desperate. I need more clients. Let's get this going because I got to get things rolling through. As a consumer, we'd have immediate hesitancy. I don't want to do business with you. Our clients actually want us to be very profitable. They want to know that we're sustainable and that we are their number one client in that moment. So that gap is something I'm trying to close. I believe we must be profitable, that we must have availability of time. All those things are of the greatest service to the clients we serve, to the colleagues that we hire and employ, and to ourselves, our family, our communities, our globe.
Now, in a nutshell, tell us, for those who are listening and may not know, what is Profit First?
So Profit First is a cash management system, but it's rooted in behavioral principles. That's a passion of mine. I love the concepts of behavioral psychology, neuroscience. I'm not certified, not qualified, but I read a lot about it and I can see the applications. In most businesses that are surviving check by check, when I interview these companies, I'm like, what's your situation? How do you manage your numbers? They're not using their accounting system. They're not using spreadsheets. And my argument is you shouldn't. It is the best to drive new results to not change who you are, but to channel who you are. So what I encourage in Profit First is continue the habit of running your business through your bank, but we need to channel that by setting up some guardrails. We set up accounts at your bank so that when money comes in, instead of seeing this one big deposit as money available for your business, we carve it up into different envelopes. It's the envelope system with its pre-intended use. So now when you log into your bank account, which you normally do, you now see money carved up prior to spending it, and its intended use. That's the core principle. There's other techniques too, but the essence is one of those accounts is profit. And when you take your profit first, remove its availability from the business, you are forced to run your business off of the remainder. It forces profitability and for you to run your business more effectively.
That's amazing, Mike. I remember I first read the book when I was on a flight to a business mastermind. I was absolutely blown away by the content of the book. The way the humor in it is fantastic. I love your sense of humor.
Thank you.
But the stories in there and then just the principle of it, so simple and yet so profound. I've applied it in my personal business. It's allowed my family to take a trip to Europe as a family, pay off cars, pay off a house. Our family's, eternally grateful for what you created with Profit First.
Oh, I love hearing that.
Yeah, it's true. And I know that I can say that for a lot of the architects in our program. Now, how did you come up with this idea? Because, and by the way, anyone listening to the podcast, please go get the book, Profit First. You can get it on Amazon, any major retailer. You can go check out Mike's website. We'll put that in the show notes. But it's so counterintuitive because for years and years and years, it's been all about the 3 financial statements and traditional accounting. How'd you come up with this?
I struggled with finances. So I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. Today, I own multiple businesses. And I've always in the past struggled with finances. Something hit me that was profound. There was research that was released by the SBA. They did in conjunction with the bank. They identified of the then 30 million, now there's about 32, 33 million small businesses in the US. And small business, as they qualify, is a company that has $25 million in revenue or less. That's a lot of business. 83% are in check-to-check survival. And what they meant was there was not enough cash flow or money in the business to pay all payroll, all the financial obligations, let alone the owner pay themselves. So the owner was compromising themselves. They were surviving check to check. And what hit me in that moment, I was like, hold on, I started my business for financial freedom. I don't want to worry about bills. Everyone I've ever met that's an entrepreneur started their business in part or in whole for financial freedom. And like, but almost none of us are doing this. So then I'm like, God, are we all not capable of this? Is there something wrong with us? And I was looking at the profit formula, sales minus expense equals profits, the foundational formula, it's taught in thousands of accounting books. And I was looking at that and like, what's wrong with us? I was like, holy crap, this formula is wrong. It's wrong. It puts profit at the bottom. Now, logically, sales minus expenses does equal profit. It's a logical formula, but it's not a behavioral formula. It's human nature. When something comes last, it means it's not important. You know, if you love your family, you don't say, I put my family last now. If your health matters, you don't say, I'm going to put my health last. First gets done. I put my family first. I put my health first. So what I did is I just flipped the formula, sales minus profit equals expenses. Mathematically, logically, it's the same, actually exactly the same. It's called a variable swap. But behaviorally, there's a radical impact. Now, every time revenue comes into the firm, we take a predetermined percentage of that, allocate to profit, remove it from the business, and then the remainder we run off of. And this is so core to who we are as humans. When something comes first, we'll actually get it done. When you take your profit first, it'll actually happen.
Mike, I know when in my business that I've run, and we also see this with the architects we work with, which is we're so passionate about what we do. We're so excited to get the freedom, the flexibility of running our own business. Oftentimes we put ourselves last.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes, if anyone gets paid, it's us last. We reduce our salary. We're paying our employees first. There's no profit on the table. We're reinvesting to the business. And it's easy to do out of, I don't know if it's a martyrdom complex or it's the hustle and the grind, you know, just wanting to like really, and there's almost a bit of righteousness I get, or I feel in the past as I've done this, and maybe that's part of it, which is like kind of the nobility of really, you know, self-sacrifice. Have you seen any, because you mentioned it's so important for people to take a profit. You mentioned it's essential. And I'm curious, have you seen any impacts? What's the psychological impact of people not compensating themselves well versus compensating themselves well? How does this relate to their psychology, their business? What have you seen in that area?
I've definitely seen an ongoing stress level and sometimes anger and disappointment in themselves and expressed toward others when there is no financial security for themselves. It's this kind of seesaw. Sometimes there's some money, usually there's not, and it expresses itself. I've seen it harm marriages. I've seen it harm families. And people report this to me saying, this insecurity, but you're right. There's this perverted nobility. Like, well, I'm a martyr. I look at what I do to support others. You know what the most noble thing is being profitable, because that does support others, including yourself. And when you're able to come at business with a level head and you're not panicked about making money, you can make better decisions for the organization. You can grow it healthily. You can be of greater support to your colleagues, your community, your country, our globe. So we got to flip what we associate nobility with. Now, I see the other side too. Fellows like you, I've experienced it myself, is when we get there, it's not like we become these money hoarding greed machines. You know, when people hear profit first, they're like, oh, this guy's all about greed. He's the most evil human being on the planet. No, all it is about a principle to assure financial security. Take your profit first. I've seen these people be the greatest contributors and contribution through their business. They are hiring and able to hire more employees. They're able to serve a client deeply because they're not worried about panicking about money for the next client. So they serve their clients more deeply. They start becoming bigger contributors to their community. They realize, wow, with this financial security, maybe I don't have to have the business depend on me working like an animal. Let me start availing jobs for other people who want the jobs and reducing my active input and start working on strategic input and having a greater impact. So I see this cascade effect. I've literally seen marriages repaired. And this talks to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow explained that we have physiological needs, security needs, belonging, and so forth. Well, it's that security need. We need financial security. We need safe, a roof overhead. If we feel financial insecurity, it compromises the next level above, which is communal relationships, loving relationships, partnerships. So if there's no financial security, all that stuff above starts come crumbling down. We need that foundation in place to support higher levels of that hierarchy.
Have you ever seen or heard of entrepreneurial guilt or business owner guilt where they actually feel guilty kind of being profitable and taking profit off the table?
Yeah, I do see it in the beginning. I rarely see it with people who are profitable because then they get it. Profit does not translate to greed. Profit translates to impact. So it's usually people who are not profitable, who have this negative association with profitability and say, oh, I can't do that. That's bad. I'm like, oh, you've never been profitable before. And if you really think profit is bad, shouldn't you be the one who's profitable to start turning it into a good thing because you're a good person? Aren't you the one who should be empowered that way? And I say these things and they're kind of curt and kind of in your face, but I want people to change their perspective. Money at the end of the day is just a tool. It's an amplification, or can be an amplification, of who we are. So if you already express yourself as a good contributing person, that's the person I want to be empowered with money, because now they have tools to put more good out in the world.
Oh, it's given me, you're speaking my language, Mike. It's giving me goosebumps over here as a young guy. As brought up with so many shame stories around money and money being evil, it's been difficult. So you are definitely out on the front leading the charge. Thank you. How has Profit First evolved over time? Has it always been this mechanism, or has it from the beginning stages? Have you adjusted and tweaked it over time? How has it kind of shifted and evolved, would you say?
The core system has never changed. It's been like this. I wrote the book 10 years ago now. It's always been the core principle. The awareness of the behavioral psychology around it has changed, and all these kind of adjunct accounts you can add. So in Profit First, the core system is, I call it the 5 foundational accounts for the 5 main purposes of business. One is to handle income, it's a depository account. There's one for profit. There's one for owner's compensation, which is different than profit, and I explain the important differences. There's one for tax liabilities. The number one bill associated with operating a business that a business owner is least prepared for, inevitably, is the tax bill, and your business can pay for that. So we reserve that. And then the operating expenses, which is the operations of the business. But for example, there's some businesses that are seasonal. So we instituted another account that you can add in a seasonal business called a drip account. Maybe you earn all your money in one month. The winter holidays are all your income. In December, you crush it. Every other month, you're quiet. Well, what happens is that December month needs to cover every other month. So 1/12 of that money is really available to support you in December, 1/12 in January, and so forth. So we put all the income into the drip account, and it drips back out into the business. That's an example of how the money gets carved up. So Profit First, we've introduced all these additional accounts, and that's been a big enhancement for people deploying it for the specific needs their businesses have.
Beautiful. One question we often get is people where the owners are on payroll, and they often ask us about the owner's comp account, like keeping that separate versus having it as part of the operating expenses account, since the payroll company is going to pull all the payroll out of there. Yeah. How do you usually direct people in that situation? Yeah.
So remember that Profit First is a behavioral-based system. We need to get these release mechanisms of dopamine, serotonin, endorphins. They come out when we feel a reward. So what happens in Profit First is when we have money come into our income account, that's our depository account, we're then going to carve it up to these different accounts. It's a percentage-based system. So logically, you could put any money anywhere as long as you follow the percentages. But remember, we are not logical, we're behavioral. So the first thing we do is we allocate money toward the profit account. What that does is it triggers a dopamine, among other release in our mind. It feels good. We then allocate money to owner's comp. We realize as an owner that our compensation is finally taken care of. That feels good. When payroll comes, if you have a payroll account, we're going to sweep that money from owner's comp into payroll. And I know it feels like, oh, it's an extra step. I don't need to take these steps. You have to take the step of that reward sensation of seeing money allocated to you. So that's why we take this extra step.
Beautiful. Such a key distinction, and so powerful. So thanks, Mike, for clarifying that.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you're entrepreneurial force of nature. You've written quite a number of books. This is no easy task. You're traveling. You just got back from 6 weeks of travels where you literally jumped around the globe. I'm just really curious in terms of your principles, your operating mindset that drives this life that you're living, Mike, because you're from outside, it looks like you're literally crushing life. I'm looking at Mike and I'm thinking, here's a guy who's like playing the game of life at the top level. I'm just like, amazing. Well done.
I don't know if that's true with that.
Well, we all, let's face it, we all have mistakes and our crap stinks. But what would you say would be your guiding principles that have been impactful for you?
I think foundationally, I believe in exercise. Absolute is a non-consideration. If I don't exercise, consistently, then I'm compromising myself. I'm also compromising my business. To have the energy necessary to do what I do when I do it is rooted in exercise.
Let me pause you there, Mike.
Yeah.
What is your exercise routine? I'm looking at you. I'm like, I could tell because you're a fit guy. So I'm like, okay, obviously Mike keeps himself in good shape. What do you do, especially when you're traveling?
Yeah. So I oscillate. So today was a cardio day. Tomorrow will be weights, and you have to do both. I've read a lot of books on the subject. Listen to all the podcasts. Definitely listen to the Huberman Lab, or Peter Attia has a thing called Outlive, or that's actually his book. I think it's called Drive. These amazing resources, and according to the research they're sharing, we need. It summarizes in this: cardiovascular for longevity of life, and muscular, weights for quality of life. So you can't do one or the other. You got to do both. I've also used this concept called the 5-minute rule. We can always find 5 minutes, and so if you exercise for 5 minutes, that does have a notable impact. But once you get started, maybe get 7 minutes, or maybe get 10, or maybe it just becomes a full workout. I used to say, if I can't get an hour workout in today, I guess I can't do it today. And now I'm like, I have to get 5 minutes in, and usually it's an hour workout like it was this morning. On the road, I carry little bands in my suitcase. It's amazing what those can do for resistance. Just body weight and bands. And God bless YouTube. You type in 25-minute body weight workout. I come out in such pain, but good pain, but such pain. It's interesting, by following these YouTube videos and so forth, I don't even know who I'll be watching tomorrow. It brings a variety in my exercises, and I'll get stuck into the same regimen. So that's my exercise.
Okay, beautiful.
It's always
Great.
in the morning too.
Okay, so we have exercise.
Okay, sauna. So this is big for me. I love it, and I don't even know if it's because there's health benefits, and I think there are, but I do it because it causes a meditative state for me. The temperatures are so extreme, and I'm sweating profusely. I actually notice that I can't have rambling thoughts. I just have to sit still and endure this, which actually becomes meditative. And I come out of there every single time, my mind is just flesh. The other thing is when I'm home, my wife will go with me to the sauna and we'll do it together. Usually we don't set the temperatures high then, and it's at a temperature where it's uncomfortable, but we can have a conversation. You can't bring phones in there. You can't have a TV playing. You just look at each other and talk, and it becomes a great point of connection. I also do meditation independently of that. And then I also
What's your meditation routine like, Mike?
I do TM, Transcendental Meditation. It's mantra-based. Honestly, I don't know if it's any better than anything else, but that's where I start, mantra-based, and I'm trying to do some of the other breathing-based meditations. I also have a singing bowl, one of these singing bowls. I'm not Buddhist, I don't practice Hinduism, but I have a Ganesha, who's a Hindu god, sitting there. I have my singing bowl. I do have some Buddhist literature that I read. I'm just a dude who tries to meditate. But those all seem like good little effects. And those are things you can carry with you. You can meditate in your hotel room, and you can do it at your house. And then the last thing I do is I play guitar every day for at least 20, 30 minutes. I think I'm not necessarily a good guitarist, but I'm practicing the habits that stretch me. This morning I was practicing Michael Jackson's Beat It. That song. I hadn't tried that before, but I heard on the radio, I'm like, all right, that's the next thing I gotta learn. It just causes a little bit of a stretch in the mind, pushing me a little bit further. And that stretch then I think applies to business. Like when I'm writing my books, I'm like, I gotta push myself here. I gotta do a little more research. I'm not there yet. And I think that habit of, in this case, playing guitar, but trying to do things I can't do, get me in this mindset of stretching myself.
And what would you say are some of your guiding principles with regard to your work ethic or getting things done or success in business that you feel really drive what you've been able to achieve in addition to these foundational habits you mentioned?
I think we're very service oriented. I'm going to share something I've never shared before, but it's not like a big secret, but I just thought of this. Every time before I do a keynote speech, I have a ritual of playing some songs. There's one song called Times Like These by the Foo Fighters. It's like kind of a pump up song. But there is a guitar riff that I can say, I am here to serve them to, and it matches up perfectly. I'm here to serve them. I'm here to serve them. And it forces me to repeat that 100 times. I believe why I'm on this planet and why you're on this planet and why we're on this planet is to be of service to each other. And there's a selfish motivation. The more that we contribute, the more we're actually learning. The best student is always the teacher. So every time, in everything I do, I'm like, how can I be of greater service to others? And selfishly, I know because it's being of greater service to myself.
Oh, amazing. Mike, speaking of being of service, you have a new book coming out, All In. It's going to be released on January 2nd.
I know.
And yeah, it's about a topic that I'm super excited about. Give us a little preview of the book. What's
the subtitle is How Great Leaders Build Unstoppable Teams. What I did was I investigated recruiting, retaining employees, raising the bar for an organization. And no surprise, it's all rooted in the quality of leadership. What was surprising is the methods we've been taught, kind of like Profit First, are the wrong methods. So in Profit First, we were told, read those 3 accounting statements. In recruiting, we're told, run an ad somewhere online and go through an interview process. And it is unquestionably the worst, least effective process ever. There's a better method, and I share that, and it's profound. And I'll give you a little insight because I think it's important to read the book or not. I looked at all industries. I said, is there any industry that successfully recruits at a high level all the time? And sure enough, there is. It's the sports industry. So I deconstructed it. Lots of professional college level sports run camps. And like, that's what we need to do. A camp, I played sports in high school, and I went to a camp for lacrosse. And what they were doing is they were teaching all the students, 300 students. Everyone was getting better, but certain students were tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, you're showing talent here. We'd like to bring you to another field to practice a higher level. They were using it as basically a vetting process. They cherry picked 3 or 4 of those athletes, and they went to play for that school. The rest of us all got better, though. I ended up playing in college, in part thank you to that camp. So a camp elevates everyone and gives the facilitators an opportunity to pick the best fits for their organization. So we can run camps, and I'll give you just one last little story because businesses do already do this. We just need to do it. Home Depot. Next time you see we're building birdhouses, watch what they're actually doing. It's a recruiting camp. Go there with some kids. You assemble a birdhouse. They want to ingratiate you with the store. They hope you like the experience and buy more, but they're also observing your participation. If you are the most engaged parent, you're helping out other folks, they will tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, have you ever thought about working at Home Depot? Because what you're doing here is what we do at Home Depot. We'd love to talk with you. It's a recruiting camp. We can do the same thing with our businesses.
Wow. Amazing. So glad that you're bringing this new, it's an innovation in small business, recruiting, hiring. Oh, it's so great.
Thanks,
any other little sneak peeks you can give us of the content of the book?
Yeah, the last one I'll give it super quick as the vision of the business does not matter, not nearly as much as everyone's independent vision. Ultimately, the vision for the business is the vision of the leaders. I want to achieve $10 million. I want this. But what does everyone want in the organization? The job of the leader is to recognize everyone's desires. And it may be, I want to learn to speak Spanish or play guitar or buy a new house. All of them are a priority. And when we lock arms in helping people realize their vision, then they will help us realize the corporate vision, the vision we set out. So prioritize everyone's individual visions. I'm not saying satisfy them. I'm not saying buy them guitar lessons or pay for it. Don't buy them the house. I'm saying make sure that vision is a priority and you're always addressing that, because when you prioritize their vision, they'll prioritize yours.
A question that often comes up in terms of incentivizing people is the idea of bonuses. Is this something you talk about in the book as the best way to, or best practices for giving bonuses to employees?
Bonuses are actually a way to recognize past performance, but can become a precedent that traps people. So what we do is profit share. The performance of the entire organization, we divide up that money equally to every single employee so that the common goal is achieved, as opposed to individual bonuses. So I do talk about that in the book in a lot more detail.
Great. Mike, I didn't realize the time ran so quick. Thank you so much for being with us today. Amazing.
Enoch, this has been a joy. Thank you for having me.
Okay, you're most welcome. Thanks, Mike. Well, Architect Nation, that is it for today's episode with Mike Michalowicz. To get more information on what Mike's up to and to discover more about how you can use his tools and resources to escape your own entrepreneurial poverty wherever you happen to be on that journey, you can go to his website, MikeMichalowicz.com. Now, this is going to turn up through a simple Google search, or you can visit the Business of Architecture website and view the podcast notes on that page. Oh yeah, one more thing. If you haven't already, head on over to iTunes and leave a review. We'd love to read your name out here on the show. And now a word from our sponsor, Enscape. Enscape is a plugin software that simplifies real-time visualization for us in the architecture, engineering, and construction industries. So whether your go-to design application is Revit, SketchUp, Rhino, ArchiCAD, or Vectorworks, Enscape lets you instantly create high-quality renderings by syncing data from your 3D model without additional import or export needed. Easily navigate every aspect of your design in real time and identify and resolve any issues that you come across quickly. Plus, you can immerse your clients in VR to provide that amazing tangible sense of the project. Now, if you didn't know, Enscape is the trusted choice of over 500,000 monthly users across 150 countries. Today is the final day of Enscape's Black Friday deal. You can still grab any yearly license at 20% off. Just head to chaos-enscape.com and use code BF23 at checkout to supercharge your design workflow. Again, that URL is chaos-enscape, that's chaos-enscape.com, and the code is B as in boy, F as in Frank, 23. Use that at checkout to supercharge your design workflow. The views expressed on the show by my guests do not represent those of the host, and I make no representation, promise, guarantee, pledge, warranty, contract, bond, or commitment, except to help you conquer the world. Carpe diem.